The mainstream media's campaign to permanently raise inflation is ramping up, with the Wall Street Journal running an op-ed by Harvard professor and former bureaucrat Jason Furman arguing the Fed should just declare defeat and raise their inflation target by half, going from 2% to 3% per year.
The Fed's 2% target is likely not to survive this business cycle. I think that we're likely going to see a 3% target. They'll never tell us ex ante, it'll always be ex post, but it'll be operational before the public is actually informed on this.
They'll never tell us. Of course, 3% is just the appetizer after a suitably gentlemanly pause to be followed by op-eds pimping 4%, 5%, really whatever the people will suffer in silence. The ever-entertaining Paul Krugman chimed in, backing up Furman and giving the Fed some return on investment on those millions in government grants. The Journal then followed up the next day with a staff article titled, quote, "How hard should the Fed squeeze?" breezily noting how, quote, "another strain of thinking says the Fed should accept a rate around 3%. They quoted two former Fed officials pitching just that, along with a former Bank of England official saying, quote, "the inflation target is not meant to be an absolute rule." So yes, 3% is in play. They are trying to manufacture the consent before your eyes. By the way, at 2% inflation, if you're 30 years old, $1 you leave to your kids would be worth 36 cents. At 3%, it's worth 22 cents. Over the weekend, I put out an article arguing inflation has no benefit. It's pure theft. And just last week, I did a video talking about why the Fed aims for 2%. It's the most they can steal. Well, it's the most they can siphon from you and hand to bankers and subsidized federal loans. In that video, I warned they will push for 3%. I did not expect it to come this quick. So we know why they're really doing it, but what's their excuse? What's their sales pitch? Furman kicks off by granting that the people will not like higher inflation, that it has costs. Namely, quote, "the time and attention people spend trying to account for how much their current dollars will be worth." You have to be a tenured professor or a former bureaucrat to think the main problem with inflation is tallying up how much you will lose, as opposed to, say, choosing between new shoes for the kids and groceries. He then goes on to paint the utopia we stand to gain. We can shower the banks with cheap money, shower big business with cheap loans, and we can postpone the next recession. Of course, that means squeezing regular Americans and building up a much bigger crash, but hopefully one that is postponed until after the 2024 election. So you give the Fed another couple $100 billion. In return, you get a squeezed middle class and a bigger recession, but one that is more election friendly. Okay, we'll be watching. See you next time.